they complain bitterly, and I don't think any of these wines up here have gotten less than a 90-point score ever. So what can you say? I mean, it's the area of conflict, it's the area of joy, it's the area of luscious wines, it's the area of sometimes excess, and we get to talk about all that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And you guys get to taste these wines. By the way, I neglected in the last set to mention Michael Dash, who gave me his wine very nicely to put into this tasting. He said, be sure you say something nice about me. So I want you to know that I think Michael Dash makes really good wine, and he makes really balanced wine, and he's been doing it for a long time. So if anybody knows Michael Dash, tell him I said something nice about him and his wines. Okay, this panel, we start out with a young Zin master whom my son, another young Zin Turk, calls the Daryl Cordy of his generation. Whip smart, opinionated, and articulate. Tegan Passalacqua of Turley. Next we have the master of interesting names, the intense and the flavorful, big bottles and big scores, the man who makes the prisoner but takes none. Dave Phinney from Orin Swift. And finally, making earth-shaking wines that leave you asking, how in the heck did they get all that into one bottle anyway? Jeff Farthing of Michael David. Tegan, we're going to start out with you because Turley has really been the standard bearer of, intense, rich, beautiful Zinfandels for a very long time. But more than that, you guys have really spent a lot of time acquiring and rejuvenating old vineyards. You really have done an amazing job with that. So, what is it? I mean, since you work with these vines so much, and you also have the luxury of being very involved with the winemaking as well, what is it about the Zinfandel vine that makes it work with this particular style of wine, this big, rich, intense, flavorful style of wine, when other grape varieties clearly don't work? You wouldn't want a Cabernet that was like this. You certainly don't want Pinot Noir that's like this. But people seem to love Zinfandel that's like this. What is it? There must be something about the vine, about the way it grows, etc., etc. So give us your wisdom, my friend.
Well, I think the first thing to say about Zinfandel is that, one, it's planted in some of the best spots in California. And we're lucky for that. The old Zinfandel vineyards that are left have not been ripped out because they are in the best spots. And I think it's unfair to compare Cabernet and Pinot Noir because we have so few examples of vineyards that are of that age. And in my opinion, growing Zinfandel or other vines on drip irrigation and trellising is more of a crutch for the vine. And what Zinfandel has is that it's had a tough upbringing, and it structures itself, and it kind of does its own thing. You don't need to really manipulate it. We're big fans over place over process. So it's not what we do in the winery, it's how we select vineyards, how we care for the soil, and with all of our wines, we don't fine, we don't filter, we don't inoculate, no acidulations ever in the winery. So the thing I think that Zinfandel brings to the table is its natural acidity, and I appreciate all the wines that we've tasted so far, and I think the acidity is what shines through. And acidity for, I think, Zinfandel drives the picking decision more than anything. The wine that we have, I think, that I brought the Mead Ranch, the issue with the acid there is that it's a rugged mountain site at 1,500 feet. It's a cooler site for the Napa Valley. And what you're really looking for is more of an acid-tannin synergy. We won't fine the wines, we don't egg white fine or gelatin fine. We basically, this is what the site has to offer. So with this wine, I believe we get those underripe green peppercorn, peppery aromatics, and at a concentration that you get from dry farming. The vineyard was originally planted in the 1880s. Our block has some vines from the 1940s and 1960s, and we took the irrigation up. We leased the vineyard in 2004, our section of it, so we could bring it back to dry farming, and it's the only block farmed organically on the property.